Alrighty, let's see what we've got here. Hi there, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and this is a little bit of an experiment. It's an experiment in the new live streaming thing. I'm going to do another coding day, although it might not be a really long one. And I've been given to understand that you can tell YouTube that you're doing a 1080p stream and just throw a ridiculous amount of bandwidth at them and they'll just kind of deal with it. So we seem to be doing about 33 megabits per second because I am telling it that it is a hyperdeck high quality. I'm probably going to get warnings, but the warnings apparently don't do you any harm. So all right there. And if that works, and I was honestly expecting it to be a higher data rate than that. I mean, I told it hyperdeck high speed, so I was like 500 megabits per second. Hey, bring it on. But no, that's apparently not what we're doing. So let me get my stuff together. I got to shut this down. And get out the computer that we're going to be programming on. This also bodes well for music streams, because I should be able to do music streams with this kind of video quality and everything. We'll see how that develops. And yep, stream's current bit rate of 35,000 K is higher than the recommended 4,000 K. Oh well, see whether it looks nice. There's a number of things I've changed and fixed. As always, we are very busy with all the things. And among them, the reason you are able to see this is because we are on the fiber optics. Yay! So I'm going to be checking this out afterwards to see what the end result looks like, because my hope is that it's going to be a better quality stream than I've been doing. And let's see, while I'm at it, let's plug in the laptop, which is feeling flickery this morning. I hope it doesn't get sick. I develop on this thing, so I kind of depend upon it. Don't like it when the screen feels a little bit intermittent. At some point, I'm going to make my picture in the bottom corner be bigger. But for now, I think we're going to do a quick little stream of trying to program something. And we'll see how that goes. And of course, the big experiment here is how well this really enthusiastic live streaming and the really high data rate and using a new microphone and all manner of stuff like that, how well that stuff works. Doing this kind of thing is always a bit of a process. Oh, and I've forgotten one other thing. YouTube, you're so silly. Now it's saying that 2,000 is higher than the recommended 4,000. Well, with behavior like that, I'm just going to keep throwing massive data rates at you. But not right now, because this is the screen. And this is stuff like things I can't actually play on stream. like, oh, hello. And it got sick for a moment. I have to let it load on this old laptop before I can play a half-second burst of something that I'm not allowed to stream. Because that'll be kind of fun. Playing incredibly brief bursts of stuff that'll get me booted off of YouTube immediately as celebration for the high data rate. Although I do need to look at the volume levels for that too while I do it. So let's let this poor thing load up its final result. I'm not allowed to play this. Or this. You get that? I'm not allowed to play that. That, of course, is the first note of AC/DC's Back in Black. Or, hey, I can get even funkier and a check noise. We don't dare play any more of that. Yeah, the thing about the MCI console is that lots of these are held by really protective record companies. Or in the case of maybe AC/DC owns their own rights, I don't know. One interesting thing about the Eagles is they kind of do own their own rights. There was a whole battle about that. But there's a whole bunch of useful MCI stuff. I should not try to load these. These are too long. They are entire records and in 24-bit 96K, so it's taking me like a minute to load the stupid thing. And we don't really need to get involved with that, I don't think. We don't need to really get involved in the funny lights either. I was doing a thing where I was doing fancy colored lights. Kind of like this. Because that is something that I can do, but that doesn't mean that I have to. I just did it to see what it would look like. I can also cut my overhead light. The ring light over there would be a little more burdensome to shut off, but I'm not worried about that right at the moment. And I did a little bit more work today in that I put back together something that I might be able to use for other music streams. That being, excuse me for a moment while I make that move. That being a metronome. Thing just sort of runs. I had put an output jack on it and then I took the output jack back off of it again. So what you see inside there is sort of a little bit of piezo. I have all these piezo elements, so I was able to replace that fairly easily. And it is my little timekeeper. If I play an instrument, I can kind of have that going and teach myself how to play in time better, or at least play around time better without departing from it too permanently. And then more importantly, when I'm doing the Zoxbox stuff, because I'm really warming to the idea of leaning on the Zoxbox a lot more. I do like fun cross-modulation things with it, and I just enjoy the performance of that a lot more than most other synthesizer things that I can do. So I'm going to want to do it and it only has a tempo. It runs its own tempo. It's a very primitive, like Roland style tempo control. And then you have to turn this little rotary encoder to make it speed up or slow down. So I won't be able to dial in exact tempos, except for now, I will be able to dial in exact tempos. Because I can set this up and then get it to pretty much the correct thing. And then that feeds the modular, because I can run MIDI out of that while also synchronizing to another aux box for like transistorized timing rather than MIDI protocol timing, which isn't as good. And the MIDI sort of timing reference, without sending out any actual notes, gets to synchronize the Erica Synths drum sequencer. And that means I can run anything else off of that. And that means I can do stuff that might come in handy or that I might want to do. But yeah, let's... One of the things I need to do is get into experimenting with the sampler I've got, because I have promises out there about making a... what the heck is this? We have a clip. That's a pop. I need to work with the ASR 10 so that I'll have more of an idea about how to make a plugin that delivers more in the way of those sounds. And once I've done that, I'll probably be game for selling the ASR 10, honestly. But I'll need to do stuff like loops, things like that. Maybe not the loop that you want, but... here's a loop. So if I can load stuff like that into the ASR 10 and start fooling with it that way, I'll finally be doing some of the stuff that people have always done with sampling. I tend to work more on the basis of individual tracks and recording. And I'm very interested. I'm also interested in knowing whether this stream is actually working. So when people start showing up, by all means, say something in chat. All of this should be working, and it should be giving you a reasonably good, stream quality. And that's the experiment for today. I don't know yet whether, for instance, the stream is completely failed because I'm giving it too many bits, and therefore I will end up with realizing that nobody ever saw anything off of the result of the stream. But if somebody... Bruce Wayne says hi. Clearly somebody is here and hearing what I'm saying. The video and possibly audio quality of this should be a lot better, and I do believe, the microphone is enabled and all of that. So the idea is that this should be a big boost in quality, and thank you for the congratulations on the new internet. That's how I'm able to do this. That is why the bitrate that I'm sending is what's called hyperdeck rather than streaming, because I'm given to understand that if you throw way too many bits at YouTube, it will always re-encode it anyhow, so you'll get slightly better quality. And of course, I'm using the thing that I was talking about in a recent video where I went and got some lookup tables, what's called LUTs for cameras, So I'm experimenting with a kind that are called buttery LUTs, and they seem pretty popular with filmmakers and people like that. Colorists don't actually use these because they go like, okay, this is what it looks like, now I'm going to construct my own. But a lot of people have made the effort to do sort of scientific explorations into how to manipulate a LUT and make it look like a certain thing. And several people have attempted to make the camera, for instance, my Blackmagic cameras, or anything really, look like the Arri Alexa. Because the Arri Alexa is supposed to be nicely flexible, and the way it goes into highlights is a particular kind of way. There is the availability of like higher contrast stuff, so I'm using a slightly more contrasty version than the default, but this is something that I've done to not struggle so much with little details like being a colorist when I need to be a programmer making plugins and things for people. I can't like be making breakthroughs in every possible realm of the world. I gotta focus to some extent. So what we're gonna do is shut down this B52's track and close these, because these are what I'm going to be listening to dial in things like console versions. And we're going to look at this plugin. You've not seen this before. I'm not sure if I've built this before. Let me have a quick look and see. Is there anything under N? LMN. No, it's not even in my list. There isn't anything here at all. I think there's a couple of things here, so I'm going to be talking myself through it a little bit maybe. But this is, I believe, every slew that is going to be edited and altered until it becomes something else. So my job for today, or for however much of today that I do, I mean, it's not even 11 yet. I haven't even really had a sip of my coffee. But I gotta tell you, this whole business with the internet thing, it has been so stressful that it's not even funny. I'm very happy that I've got the new internet going. It's really taken a lot out of me, and I still need to get the old internet shut down in such a way that I still have access to my email. So wish me luck with that, and I'll do the best I can with it. But this was mostly to test and see if the new bandwidth speed gets me better visual qualities, and also the changes that I've made. And I'll see what I can do with this node slew thing. And what I'll do is I'll approach it from a completely distracted standpoint of not knowing what the heck I'm doing. And then I'll try to avoid doing too much Isaac mouth. Ever tell you about Isaac mouth? I called myself on that in a recent video. So if things are really tough around here, I might not be showing it, but my mouth will be like, and I can't do it because I'm laughing at myself, and that's actually good. But if I'm constantly looking like this when I'm focusing on stuff, it means I'm not doing very well. It's Binding of Isaac mouth. It's that like D shape with the flat part on the bottom. And while I've been struggling with internet and not sure whether I was going to lose access to the internet entirely or be charged thousands of dollars a month, as it happens, what changed was for this upcoming month, I'm being charged $250 a month for 10 up, 10 down copper. And that's as much as they boosted it. So I will pay that because I'm contracted to them to pay it until it's disconnected. But it could have been much worse. And we will see. That's one of the reasons why I've set this up so that I'm on the new internet, and the old internet is literally still on, connected, and hooked up to an old Apple airport. I mean, the new internet has good Wi-Fi built into it as well, so there's that. But the old airport is what I used to have to do to have Wi-Fi for like my printer and whatever, and that's still connected because my idea for going forwards with this is if I need to leave a company, or even worse, leave a company and then still have access to the email address that I used at that company, I need to be able to show them, please come and collect your equipment or do whatever it is that you need to do. See now that it is completely undamaged and still works, so that they don't hit me with some kind of like, oh, well, we decided that you broke our thing, and so therefore there's thousands of dollars of damages. I don't know whether they would do that to me after if you go all the way back to the original SilverNet, practically 25 years of being a customer to these people. But they got bought out by a fiber company in Albany. And the fiber company in Albany is not getting government support for extending rural broadband in Vermont. They're presumably getting it in Albany, which is fine. And so the one that I'm using right now is the one that was getting support for fiber internet in Vermont. And yeah, it's a lot. But I'm honestly kind of looking. The reason I was showing off the metronome is so that I can do my usual routine of doing that card game that I'm developing to come up with ideas to start me making music, up to and maybe including more weird time signature stuff, because the weird time signature stuff I've been doing hasn't really been working. But sometimes it's because I'm not following my own rules. Like, if I have a time signature that says it is 883, and I'll go, okay, 16, 17, 18, 19. I've been just programming stuff like the Erica synths to do a 19, and then just making sequences that do that, but I'm not doing it broken down into these subdividers that I need to use for that, because the idea of being able to use this card game to get ideas for unusual music that you're not going to hear just every day is, it should be able to tell you like, okay, you're going to do a 5-5-4. What does that mean? That means a 14, which is like 2 sevens. I don't think that's actually included, but if it was. And then you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably the 4 is the reason it's not included. I probably have 5, 5, 3, which would be, 13. So you'd have, well, here, I think something I can play a brief little snippet of in the Trident A range section off the Devo album Duty Now for the Future. I've had a thought going through my head recently, which is I decided that I may never meet Dave Grohl in my life. He is a wealthy professional man, doesn't necessarily use any of my stuff, although people of that range, some of them have, but he doesn't know from me, even though I'm doing things similarly to what his punk ethos stuff always was about. But I have an in with this guy if I ever do meet him. I can tell him that he knows a 11/8 by heart, because he has said he grew up on early Devo, Well, this that I have open is Devo's sophomore album, after the first one done by, not done by, but Brian Eno helped out with it a great deal. Well, with this one, it's maybe not as well known. It doesn't have Whip It or anything on there, but it is one of the great albums ever. It's one of my examples for the Trident A range. So it's got the 4 frequency bands for the console EQ. And there's a song on it, which if Dave Grohl had this album, he knows this by heart. And this is how you do odd times correctly. This is a song called Blockhead. And then it switches into a regular time again. If I stop it, it will jump back to the beginning again. But the way that riff goes, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. That's how you do odd times in a way that people groove and get it. I can't do my hands that fast. I play guitar, but I'm not 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. But that's what I'm trying to get after. That is the stuff I'm trying to master. Things that I grew up on, where it's like you have something like that, and you go, "Oh my God, what an amazing song! That's incredible. Why is it that good?" And there are other examples. Maybe I can, well, hang on a second. I did. Haha. I can play a little clip from this, I think, because this is Yes, and Yes has not been too sharp with people playing their stuff on React channels. And so much like I can most likely play that little clip of the Devo, it may get copyright claimed, but I've seen people do that and not have the video knocked off the internet. And I have the stream open on the main computer. That's how I see the, this is 1979, so Zappa was still working at the time, but Zappa has always been known for weird time signatures and things. And that's, well, another thing about it is that is not me running the audio into the desk. At some point, I should probably work out how to do that. At some point, I'm going to have to experiment with maybe getting the other laptop going and just running the line input out of the other laptop, and that would be more or less acceptable, so that I can run a direct out and not be playing over the speakers and picking up over the microphone. And I'd have to wear my headphones for it, but that would be a much more effective way of doing a big old music stream. But, and I also am not really sure, hang on. Oh, this does have a HDMI out right here. So in theory, I can run this out into the ATEM. And that might be another good kind of live stream, is the let's talk about classic records and how to make stuff sound like them. and show what they sound like. I'm sure that would be most interesting for people. I probably need to schedule that ahead of time, and then I'll just do my level best and see whether anybody bludgeons the operation off of the internet for the day. But this is something else. This is, yes. That's relayer. It's a... We're a little bit off mic, but this is probably doing a better job than the previous mic for picking this up. And let's see, I'm cranking it up good and loud. I don't have it run in directly, but what I want to show you is a time signature thing. So what's coming up is a section where yes is bombing away full crank, and then they snap into a 1, 2, 3. It's like a 23 or something. I'm not even sure how to count it, but it is a super, super odd time signature that's still a riff you can get, and it sounds like this. Guitar. That is a super weird type of signature, but it is a fantastic riff to do a weird type of signature with, because you can hear how it works. It's got the dun, 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 and then it does it again. Dun, 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 dun. And then the weird little tail. And if it continued, it would be recognizable, but the way that it switches over to the beginning of the riff again, it's doing a sort of upward thing that cuts off at a particular point and then begins with the start of the riff again. The pitch goes... Here, it's coming in a moment. It's definitely a strange time signature, but it's recognizable because those chunks of riff are there. And that's what I'm trying to do with the card game, is manufacture stuff where it gives you ideas for how to do that, how to make something where it's like, and this I'm going to write a 5, and then the next bit is a 4 because it totals up to a 9 or whatever. Or it's an 11, so it's a 5, and then it repeats the 5, but then there's 1 added on the end, and figure out something to make it sound good that way. And doing that, you start making unusual riffs that you haven't heard before that are still memorable, especially if you're doing things like massively multiple, like a 17 that's 3 5s and a 2. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you count it like that, but you make the riff be little chunks rather than a long stretch of arbitrary nonsense. Anyways, that's all very exciting, and I see that I have not yet been booted off the internet for doing that, so that's cool. There's a whole bunch of stuff here, but we're not actually, and I don't know that that was a quad 8, it might have been. A bunch of this stuff I am pretty sure is a quad 8 because that was the LA console of the day. and I think it sticks around for stuff as late as One Size Fits All from Zappa. There is something to be said for maybe 200 Motels Was an Eve. But yeah, working on all of these things, and I thought I would look into this one. So far, this is every slew. But here's the thing. Back in the day, I had something going on where I tried to do the console 5. I'm pretty sure because it's C5 raw. Console 5 had a routine built in where it tried to soft clip the slew. And soft clipping the slew is trouble. Let's go and find the code for that, because it still exists. It's out there. Not in quite the form that it once was, but it is out there. Got some noise going on outside, but it's probably not as obvious as when I was using the other microphone, which actually I've got the other microphone going on. So I have to raise my voice a lot to do this. Oh no, sorry, I have both of them. Never mind. Hit the wrong button. I have to raise my voice a lot to make this one come through, but this is the previous microphone that I had going on. That's now on this camera, but this is my vocal mic, and I'm kind of going back to working with that. But yeah, what were we were looking up C5 raw. Specifically, I think it's C5 raw bus. I think I was expanding on the channel and contracting on the bus rather than the opposite. It'll say in the code. So this is what I was doing back when I was back then. Like, both of my parents were alive. My mom was alive when this one went down, and it went down in an enormous train wreck. I posted it and then drove to Pennsylvania to visit my parents for Christmas, and while I was there, I found out that it had gone horribly wrong. So that was a messy time. But this is what it is. So we've got this function here called difference, and difference is what the slew would be. We compare that to what we have here, which is if input sample minus this is larger than that, then it's equal that. This is straight up slew clipping. So what we can do to quickly experiment with this is, and let me see, did I include it in the... Let's see, slew aspect. We've got the centering force going on. Last FX bus. We are doing what we do here, so this is the kind of code that can cause sawtooth waves to go wildly out of sync. And we're going to fool with it a little bit just to see how that goes. Because, let's see now. Let's take this directly from the previous one. And then we'll see what we need to do in order to make it behave itself. But just for the moment, we're going to do a really primitive version and see what it does. So this is making something be like last sample bus is the thing that we're using here, or last, let's see now. Last FX bus. So I think that would actually be last sample bus. Actually, we're not doing it quite the same way. Let's see what we get out of fooling with this. It's a grand experiment. We've never quite tried this before, and probably neither has anybody else, because nobody seems to be working with this for obvious reasons. It breaks horribly when it goes wrong. So this is what we had originally. And this is how that would work if we weren't doing this. So that is, and I need to put it in here too. But what we need to do here is, rather than have this be here, it's here. And that's how we make slew go to really low frequency stuff. So what's going on here is it's wrapping, or maybe we don't even want that. I don't know. But this difference here, and we can define this variable. Audio must be double precision, and so it is. So difference is our old sample. We're no longer making any reference to the limit here. Instead, this is just straight up applying this at its default amount. And then it is capping it, which isn't necessarily what we want. Because that's the thing, is if we have more slew than necessary, applying a sign in this way means it starts rounding off. And so it's going to do a sort of soft distortion on the slew and only the slew. This might be why it didn't work for me before. But the thing is, if we're not clipping it at this, which that is actually pi underscore 2. It's pi divided by 2. We could also clip it at just m pi, meaning that it would wrap around, and rather than clipping at maximum, so the maximum amount of difference would always be 1 no matter how high the output went, we could wrap it around until it goes to 0 again. And we can multiply difference to get a better sense of how much output is in there. We can do that using this unused variable halo. And potentially make it be very, very large of a boost. Then, we're going to split this out into a bunch of different things now, because we need to scale this. Or do we? See, here's the thing. Like, we're taking this is our slew rate. If we had it exactly the same as before, then our output is going to be exactly the same as before. But it's not, because we're applying the sine function. So we're scaling it up and down relative to what the sine function is. In theory, that means if we crank it up so that it more easily distorts like this. And what do we call that? Halo is what we've got up here. Yeah. So now we've measured it. Now we're making it a lot larger. Now we're clipping it so that the max it will stop getting any louder. And that becomes a hard clip, much like what we were doing before. And it will produce the same result. But entry into that is different now. So we have to do that. We have to limit it to what will go into the sine function. We have to then sine it, and then we have to spell correctly. And we have to make sure halo is not a 0. Because it will insta-crash if it does. This should run. I don't know what it's going to sound like. And we are applying it, and then we are making the output be our previous result. And we're compiling it, and it built just fine. Did it just place it, or did it do something else? It placed it. And now it's time to open up a sound of some kind and see what we get. It won't sound as clear as some other times have, but it will still sound like something. Let's see. How about trusty old alien kittens? Boop. Hey, Sophie. Yeah, all the better for back into the programming and stuff. What I need, just as a human being, is settling into my routines and having them run smoothly. So when major things change around, I do real poorly. And then when things quiet down a little bit and I can settle into my routines, I do better. There's a lot of reasons for that, but it is a thing. So let's now see what happens when I run this up. And you should get Inflamer next week. We finished that one. In fact, I'm not sure you've seen it. This is a boost. Interestingly, this is shifting of bits gain built into the drive control, so there's that. And the dry-wet shifting of bits is built into the curve control. So this is an unusual beast in every respect. But full curve crank gives you entirely second harmonic. And you can boost it a lot, and you can do these various things with it. And we're not worried about that today because that was last week. What we are worried about today is, what does this do? Node slew. Well, I don't think any of these are going to do anything except this halo control. And that did not work. I'm glad I didn't run it into the Now what do we got? Nope, it is very unhappy. Look at that. We just go off into the mystery land immediately. So we have a out of control DC situation going on. Immediate bug fixing is in order. Why is this? It is because well, why is this, and what can we do to ameliorate it? Let's try bringing in something else. Do I have more controls? I think maybe I do. Yeah, it looks like I have 10 controls available. That's what we're going to use. Never mind this halo. We're going to do something else. Halo goes back to being parameter 3. We'll call it node instead and have that be, say, 5 maybe, because that's available. So let's see, first of all, and that's just there for now. Let's see. If they're a punster. If you were enjoying yourself with that, then that is fine. Let's see now. We can move this down here. So this is the code I'm going to want to be using. And we want to change this. Now we have Halo available again. Now, if you remember in doing the platinum and so on, at 0, let stuff run away into DC too easily. But maybe if we just bring it into the new algorithm, it will behave itself better. Let's find out. So we're producing our difference. We don't need that comment. We don't need that there. We have yet to experiment with what this means because we can't even get a result out of it yet. And this is what we had when we had Halo implemented. We had a clip. So Halo requires multiple samples. And it did cut out the lows, but that's not, we're not primarily looking at trying to reproduce what Halo was doing so much as I'm trying to turn it into a soft clip. Hey, Mel. That looks like sad, oh no, either sad emoji or sleeping person emoji and a Chinese character. I probably don't understand what you said. Inflator with an EQ? Nope. Nope, that is not part of what that is not part of what Inflamer is. Inflamer isolates the special aspects of what Inflator does for use with future things. For instance, it's very likely to show up in some of the console things that have an EQ. That's very likely to become part of that, seeing as they have such a good way to generate second harmonic now. But no. So now we have Halo available. So what might we be able to do to, well, firstly, we could try this. Halo goes from 0 to 1. So we can make the, oh, okay, I have no idea what that means. So if we have it at 0, then G slew X is always 0, meaning that difference is always very much not what an actual slew measurement would be. This is going to do something, and it's probably going to effectively avoid doing that DC runaway behavior. Unless it doesn't, and we're about to find out, because I don't know what's going to happen to this. I only know that if it doesn't work, it'll be like 1,000,000 dB of DC offset. Halo is at 0.5. Okay, well, I got a sound. We have a output. If we lower it down, we're reverting it to essentially nothing. More of this we bring in. That's damn loud. That needs to go away so that I can put in an input gain, because that's damn loud. I didn't expect it to be that distorted. So let's see, what would be good? I got slew, I got halo available. What numbers is slew producing? Because we're not actually using slew as a control at the moment. Slew doesn't have a meaning here. What slew becomes is how loud are you hitting the yeah, I need to pad this down. I need to figure out. So we're calling it source. We're doing this whole stacking thing that is not relevant to what we're doing here, so let's make that stuff go away. I'm looking for a simpler routine. I'm not looking for the massively stacked up one. I'm looking for, let's make the gentle slew clip work without worrying about stacking them. So, parameter 1. Not worrying about overall scale either. We're not worrying about stages, but I don't need to do anything to stages. Stages is another 0 to 1, generic control. It'll work with this just fine. So that doesn't need to be changed at the moment. But I have to pad this. So, source, parameter 1. There we go. So whatever else this does, I now can turn down the input a whole bunch. And other bits of it are working, so you might just be able to start exploring this and seeing what it does sonically, because I've got some of the relevant information going. Be more interesting when I get drums going and when I start experimenting with how it clips. But for now, let's fire this puppy back up again. Interesting. So this is not very well controlled. This is giving me a lot of subs, but my subwoofer should be able to handle it. I don't think this is going to hurt anything in my if it is, I'll be a very sad puppy. Yeah, Sonic's inflator is nothing like Airwindows Tube, because I programmed Airwindows Tube, so I know what it does. And having learned what the other one does. Interesting. So if we increase halo, whoop, we get to this point where it starts feeding back at exactly 4.5. Exactly 0.5, I think, is going to get me to a runaway. Let's fool with that a little more. Dial it down to almost no sound. This is the interesting result. I didn't expect to get a mega low pass. There's a thing. What do we got here? See what those meters are doing? That's going to be subs. That's going to be super low frequencies. This, I didn't expect to see this happen. Let's quickly apply this and then look at the waveform. Yeah, check that out. Isn't that weird? We have a very ill-behaved beastie here. This is tending to throw things into the subs in a very extreme way. It is gravitating to massive DC offsets and then kind of flipping them constantly in this really curious way. Weird. There should be something in here that I can use. I'm going to have to ask my speakers to beg my forgiveness for throwing this at them. I'm pretty sure that if I'm not playing them loudly, it's not hurting anything. I'm certainly not losing them. Let's experiment with this some more, because this is acting a little bit like some kind of funky... Okay, so this was giving me massive feedback. If I hold Option, I can do fine controls. If I don't touch anything and then rerun that, instead of being at 0.5 for halo, now it's at 0.49. And that gives me like no output at all. So let's play it again and hear what it sounds like with this one, which is now no output at all. Oh, I like using light scenes for things. The room isn't as dark as it looks on camera. Like, it's a studio light setup. Like, this is what I'm using for making the actual videos. I got another ring light. And so this is more how bright it feels in the room. I just am not blasting myself with multiple ring lights while just doing a live stream. So this is what I had going forwards, and I had it padded incredibly much. I don't know whether I have anything in depth, do I? No. No, that's doing nothing. Node is the point at which it starts to clip. So if I have it at a tiny little number like this, what that's doing is it's multiplying before doing this processing and then dividing afterward. Well, or it's multiplying by a number much less than 1, because node is multiplied by 10. So if I crank node up all the way, nothing happens. Okay, that's super weird. That is super duper weird. What even is in this code? Nope, that is my gain. But so g slew x equals input sample times halo. This is the result of this stuff. So this is me figuring out what on earth is going on. Back to here. So if I turn this up, it will get louder. And it can turn into what is plainly heard as a roll-off. This is a low pass, but it's nothing like a normal low pass. Something weird's happening. And the way node works normally is it makes it much easier to distort that low pass, or not. And if I was to apply this, we're still not getting huge bass offsets. That said, it's getting kind of saturated. Back into here again. So yeah, so we have it very saturated, and we can saturate into it even more to the point where we're just frying it completely, or pad it until it's not clipping at all. This is scaling how we hit this. And halo is the threshold of what it's doing. When we have it scaled back that much, it ain't doing anything. But if we increase halo, we will get it to where we can make it be louder. What's an inflator? It's the Sony Oxford plugin. Or for actually, more relevantly, it is the Sony Oxford plugin designed by Paul Frindle, which tends to specialize in generating second harmonics. Inflator is not really like Tube or any previous plugin that I've done other than maybe Single-Edit Triode. And it's very much generating a lot of asymmetrical waveforms. It doesn't do hardly any soft clipping. It's doing something else. And it's not a loudinator. It's kind of a harmonic adder, so it will make things a little fuller, but it's not a loudinator because it doesn't clip by itself. So let's see. Where were we at? Let's split the difference. Or let's, because what we've got here is runaway. At 499, it lets you do this thing, but as soon as you put it, like watch what this does on the screen when I put it to my screen. Watch what this does. If I set halo to 0.5, it runs away into DC offset. It'll probably do it in any moment. If it doesn't do it for this, it'll do it as soon as I set it anything above 0.5. Or maybe it will do it when I apply it and close. Or maybe not. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. Let's make it happen. So there's the challenge here is set it to 0.501 and hello, we're still not doing it? We're being fussy with me today. Goodness gracious me. What is your little challenge here? I thought you were going to misbehave and do terrible things to me. Maybe it's because node is at 0? I'm trying to make it freak out, and it's refusing to do it now. I don't have it turned on, so I can't hear what it's doing. How about if we have node turned up more? There we go. Okay, so that is setting up my limit of how far it can go. And by the same token, if node is higher and halo is, say, at 0.75, not even going to try to listen to this one. Oh, yeah. It's freaking out completely. This is like a million dB DC offset. It's just cranking all the way. There's no point even playing this because there's no audible sound. It's just full clip. So we undo that. And this is how the beast is. Yeah, I know, right? It's supposed to be a slew tamer, but it's not. So if we set halo to less than 0, we can clip using node. And then if it goes above 0.5, this is sort of setting our maximum limit. Fascinating. Can we dial in a consistent level for this, maybe? Is boosting halo past 0.5 into the crazy zone going to make it boost beyond clipping? That would be a yes. if I cut node back and then boost halo more, does that do the same thing? Because node should be cutting the amount down. And this is nothing but DC now. That thump is it stopping. And then if we apply this, we have nothing but full clip. So that is not wanty behavior. This is exploring some interesting places, honestly. Like, it feels like there's nothing particularly useful to be gained from halo being too high. But there's a whole range where rather than doing interesting things with slew clipping, we're magnifying the subswing out of this. And we've only listened to this on Alien Kitten so far. That does nothing. Invlet is working. What happens if we cut it right down to next to nothing? And then start exploring this a little bit more. We have continued DC offset anywhere over 0.5, but how close to over 0.5? Because less than 0.5, it doesn't do it. More than 0.5? Is it going to get any, like, can I dial this in? Because here we have a distort. We can get this heavy distortion going on. And we can pull it back to where we're just emphasizing the super lows insanely. So let's do a little of that. That's minimum. This again is set at 0.5. So we have our volume range in here. And if we apply this and look at the result, oh, we've got a tendency to go berserk with ridiculously low subs. So that's interesting. And it's not cutting. See, this might be where we can get into using the stages and doing multiple stages of this, because this is a crazy result right here. We've got something that is isolating the lowest of the lows. This is a wild behavior. Like, let's show you what this means. Node slew as it exists. And Vox and go span. And I gotta shuffle things around on the screen a little bit to make them workable. And let's cut. If I can make this dumb thing work. Oh, I can't restrict that any further. Oh well. So this is what the audio is, but then if I do this, we're focusing on the super lows and we're distorting quite a bit. And that's a real impressively steep slope for what it is. And then of course if we start increasing node, we're not, like I think this is no alteration. If it's multiplied by 10, this is unity gain. So yeah. And again, halo is depending upon being 0.5 or thereabouts. If I put it over, it will start doing DC runaway, like this. And if I do it much less, we start losing everything. Jump scared myself with audio there. Oh, hang on though. Do I even have this? I think it's in the correct order. Yeah. Okay, I'm a little confused, but that's okay. If we distorted this, how loud does it go? I can find what the exact distort point is. Or can I? So smashing the output. There's where it clips. Interesting. And all of that was being done with halo at 0.493. Node at 0.2 is standing up to any amount of distortion, but is it going to work with the lows? Kinda. It's like we have a Thunder Adder plugin. Oh, okay. This mouse is jumping around, man. Need a proper mouse pad for the thing. So 0.2. Interestingly, as I blend the inverse and dry web, it's dropping off quite a lot. And there's our result. So there's a thing. We have a distorted thunder adder. And we can make the result look like this. That keeps huge bass going pretty much at all times and cuts back the highs enormously. But not completely. I do this. I should really plug in the ventilation fan of this thing. It's becoming upset. Give me a second. We're going to try to open up this. Get this out. Be a terrible thing if this laptop died or melted, because I depend upon it to do all of my programmings. Everything has to be done on retro version first. Let's see. Come on, you. Oh. Darn thing. There. It'll feel better soon. The fan's going now. Tell me I didn't just save that over the... I do have a place to recover it. No, that's back to normal. I was like, oh no, have I just saved this weird thing that I did? I have to go and get the other one from backup. So here is the thing. Node is working well at 0.2. Let's explore this a little further, maybe. So 0.2 times 10. 0.1 is 1, so 0.2. 2.0. We're going to quickly swap that in and run it to see what it does. We have not stopped the... Stop. There you go. And back to Alien Kittens just 'cause. And now, this node control should do nothing. And does. Halo is at 0.5. So it's clipping like right to 0. Let's assume that Halo should be also 0.5, because that was sort of the point where we got to either it breaking and freaking out or not breaking and not freaking out. So node is 0.0. Yeah, my mouse is hiccuping. So we need to do that to make that bit work. And we can have this to more decimal places. But that just brings up another thing to try, which is what happens when we do this. This may be a big change in sound, or it may be not a big change in sound. This has now changed from hard clipping at the limit of the amount of saturation it can get to wrapping all the way around to an inability to slew at all. So that is almost the ultimate extension of what slew could do in this context. And we will hear what it does as we start distorting into it harder and harder. Sounds like a weird rumbly thing going on. And it's weird how this is distorting the lows in this unusual way. In order to get it to a full clip, we got to push really hard. And if we're not pushing super hard, we're still distorting quite a bit, honestly. And it's changing the character of the sound hugely. Hugely. We're just becoming all low, throbby thumpiness from this. That's a big tone change. So, that's our limit for that particular clipping. It's being applied here, so we can simplify this. That, of course, is a shifting of bits. We can consolidate this a little bit as well. Mouse, seriously. Consolidate that. So, yeah. And we have halo, but we arrived at the idea that halo was best as literally 0.5. So we're going to punch that in directly. Here's our pre-gain. Come on, you. So now we got that. Interestingly, we don't need nearly as many of these variables. We need 2. To do this. Yeah, this should be self-contained, and it should be able to increment with x. Oh, what you doing? This thing, this mouse, this keyboard. Now that was supposed to do that. So that should run. And I haven't turned back on the screen. Okay, there we go. Yep, I missed what you said, Gene, but you've removed it anyhow, so I'm assuming that you didn't want me to see it, so fine. So yeah, if this works the way it's supposed to work, let's stack those just because. D for difference. It makes it a much smaller routine because these if statements are much littler that way. And X stages, as long as it's doing these correctly, it doesn't matter. And to do it in stereo, it would be this, and then this plus 1 for the other channel. Plus equals 2 means stepping it along, so x plus 1 would register. 1, 5, and we're doing one with x plus 4 because it was storing many things. So this is, let's see, stages as many as 10 times equals 5. Let's have it be let's make that be nothing. It doesn't actually have to be counting down from stages. It could count up. No, let's revert everything. This is designed to work with what I had in every slew. Oh, that doesn't need to be there. So now the stages control will do something. What is more of a question, really? And we go back to alien kittens because that's what we were working with. But the only thing that should still be functioning is the input gain. And stages should be having a big effect now. What do we got? Wow, that's distorted as hell. It's insane. when we apply this a million, billion, zillion, trillion times, the output looks like this and is horrible. We're letting it process. It's going to take forever. I'm going to have to pad it down so much here. In fact, we might do well to auto pad the output down. But yeah, we're getting a lot of just hard clippage. It is time to address this. So let's apply the 0 point times 5 here. G slew x equals input sample. And this goes down 6 dB each time. And well, let's see what it does first. This is messy, but it was doing something. Yeah, I'm listening at a quieter listening level than I usually do. It's having a hard time making noises louder than my speaking voice, so the monitors are pretty safe. I'm assuming they'd better be pretty safe. If not, I'm in trouble. If not, I have to spend a bunch of money replacing them because they are NS10s, but I've done a lot of work to modify and enhance them. Now what do we got? It was making it a lot louder when I turned it up. So let's not turn it up. That's a lot of distortion. Yeah, we're still basically just getting 100% distortion. It's just not acting in quite the same way. So what I'm doing here is my use of stages is erroneous. The use of stages is not good enough. I got to use it a little differently. Don't save that. Goodness gracious, no. So here's what we're going to do. We've got a maximum of something like, well, I'll have to find it first. This is how many of these we've got, and G slew total is the maximum number. And clearly I'm not going to need to use nearly as many as I could do 10, and it would still be far too much. So let's set it up so that I can go down to doing 1 and see if I can reproduce the previous behavior. We'll put this in parentheses so it's definitely evaluated as a floating point number, but it's being made into an int. And then we're going to take this away so we can get 0 to it would start at 0, wouldn't it? So this should give me like 0 to 5. Let's see what happens when I start it at 0. So it can't actually be less than 0, so it'll always execute at least once. And it can't do up to 50, so that will be safe. In fact, I can safely have it go to 10. This mouse is getting jumpy. Its button is jumping around. I would like to replace it. It's all, the logo's all worn off and stuff. I would like to find a new cheap as Logitech wired mouse for this antique Mac. Let's see what we've got. Oh, I have a change that I should put back, but first let's see if it worked. Depths of 0 is silence. One instance. 2, 3. Yep. We're getting more and more. But we're starting to get that DC that's cutting out from time to time. And that looks... Actually, the whole thing looks like DC, doesn't it? We don't want that. Let's do a little quick checking, and let's unfix one of the fixes, because it was not... It was not. We want this to be correct. Namely like this. Now it'll go to full clip. Is this going to be a warmer? I don't know what this is yet, but it's more like an EQ than anything else. It's definitely not going to be a warmer huge. Yeah, I mean, understand, I don't know what this effect is yet. I'm putting it through its paces. I got to see what it does. Right now, we've got it optimized in this way that it is barely within control. And we've only tried it on alien kittens, too. That's interesting. So at 0... it should be giving me literally nothing. And it is. This is the regular input again. As soon as I take it to 0.1, we're doing one stage of this. And it will kick in and it will do something. Here's where we're getting into a clipping zone, and our unity gain is acting a little like 0.1. It's not really unity gain, but it's isolating what the lows are. And then if I go to another layer of depth, okay, so this started it. Going to 2 isn't changing a thing, but then if I go to 2 layers of this, it goes crazy. Can I... Oh, listen to that thunder. So that's 2 layers of this, which I did not have going on before, but now we're able to hear it. And I have to pat it down a lot in order to make it work. That's for sure. I probably need to bring Halo back in as a calculation to see what happens if I dial this bit back. Otherwise, I'm not going to see anything but a bunch of DC. It has a tendency of freaking out and going to DC. If I do this, max full crank becomes nothing but dialing it back to where it's meant to be. And I believe this is where I added it. Whoop. What would happen if I added it here too? For that matter, do I really need to be boosting this in this way? Let's find out. Simplified that. Not that it was a hard math operation, but man, this mouse is going to be the death of me. So, now that we have made that change, Halo needs to be at full crank to equate to what it was doing before. Inv-wet still has to be at full crank because this does have a functioning inverse and wet control. We're not boosting going in now. Interesting. With the lack of the double boost in there, it's behaving itself a lot better. Here's our input gain. Here's one layer. Here's two layers. Three layers. And if I pull back Halo, it cleans up real quick. Interesting. I simplified the routine a little bit, and now it's being well behaved almost. Oh. And we're not going beyond clipping either. Let's keep adding. Okay, I want that depth to work better. We're doing it as x plus 2. Let's simplify that a little bit. This keyboard and mouse are really fighting me today. Now it will count properly. And at 0, it does nothing, so it's gonna give me up to 10. We've simplified the design somewhat, which is all to the good. In fact, I'm liking how simple this becomes. That's not a complicated, like that is not a lot. It's one extra variable per channel. It's one sign calculation. And it's a limit measurement, which this may not even be necessary. We'll see. I'll see what it does. I'll see what it does if you mess with it. Firstly, we've just loaded the new one up, so now we can stack this up a lot more. Here it's padded right down. 1, 2, 3. See, we're starting to hear something happen. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a lot. Now if we run this, because we can do a preamp gain thing which compensates for this to let us get the lows out again. What's that look like? We're not going that heavily into the distortion there. Let's undo that again. We've got a something. This is interesting. The amount that it's willing to distort, but it's a soft distort, but it's emphasizing the extreme lows, but if you stack it enough, it's acting kind of weird. Let's play some more. Come on. So yeah, full distort. It's just really aggressive here. That wants to be 1. Yeah, this is a really interesting behavior, folks. I wasn't aware that I would get this, and I'm figuring out what it's going to be useful for. It's this very soft mid-range boost with the capacity to distort really hard in a kind of organic way. And it's definitely emphasizing the super lows depending upon how you set it. Oh, that's weird. That's super weird. This should be dry. That's full inverse. So what's going on here? If we take this down to next to nothing, wet is, oh, I see. Inv wet means I'm bringing in this subtracted from full volume dry. That's why. So if I bring this up in gain, we'll start getting an effect. Gotta wait for it to... Oh, no, I don't. See, there we're starting to distort, but there's going to be a place here where it's canceling. Or you can use tiny amounts of it for a low cut. It starts distorting really easy when you do this. Okay, that is using this in inverted mode to cut lows. Here it is with lows. And there it is with the lows cut. And what that looks like is this. So what have we here? What's that waveform going to look like? Because it's successfully cutting the peak level a lot by doing that. See, what I'm wondering is whether something like this can take out subsonic frequencies effectively. So let's do a chain of things. Firstly, we've got this. Now we can do whatever we want with this, and what we're wanting to do with this is a thing. I'm going to do a little funky math here, if I can. Here's another one. Let's use... What the hell is the name of it? It's not going to be subs only. Oh, I remember. I. And invert polarity, copy, and oh, no, that's not right. So I don't think that worked, but what I was trying to do was get only the subsonics and then paste over. So I had only the subs. I don't think that worked. So what we're going to do is dial that right back to its beginning. And now we're going to use a favorite plugin. Now let's try that, and then we'll normalize it, and then we'll subtract it. So let's say recent effects. Infrasonic is a really steep filter. Oh, see, and look at the peaks that we're adding there. That ought to be a little more what I had in mind. This is removing extreme lows, but it's a bad way of doing it, so it's causing a massive bump as it gets nearer to the lows. And so what I'm going to try to do is that, invert it, copy it, and then paste over should add it. And I don't think this worked. But what I'm trying to do is come out with just the unwanted subs out of everybody's favorite alien kittens. Oh, hang on. Went to the wrong place. So maybe it will work better if I move to start. Copy that. Yeah, that's not cutting my levels down. What does it sound like? It's giving me more super lows. I suppose that's the best I can get out of this. I wanted more. Well, now we have alien kittens with exaggerated lows. Now let's see what we get when we throw this at it. Not this. This. So here's our remaining lows. I think this saves everything as floating point values, so it's giving me peaks that are actually hotter than clipping as a result of that subtraction that I did. And we're at this depth. And we start bringing it back in. As we get to a loud enough volume, we go past cancellation to where we have nothing again. So here is our unwanted full boost. And here is our full subs remove. If we use a much smaller amount and increase depth, oh yeah, it's very quickly kicking in. Yeah, it only works on a lower depth setting. That's weird. It's only working on odd numbered depth settings. So like no effect, add, subtract, add. Oh, I just hit the wrong button again. This mouse is killing me, man. Come back. Add, subtract, add, subtract. It's like it's changing polarity. So this is fairly steep. This is like 6 nodes of it. And this is cutting the lows out real aggressively. Which looks like this. A weird way of doing this kind of thing, I'll say. Undo it again. Back to the overinflated version. Back to node slew. Let's further experiment. Subtract. When I get to 0.7, it's going to be add again. And then 0.8 is subtract again. But every time the gain is being increased more and more and more. And full crank would be 10. And if we invert it, we're doing the inv wet, so we're subtracting. It's like it's making it steeper, but it's not working very cleanly. But one thing about this is not that many operations, so that's interesting. So that is a subtraction. If we went to full wet, this is what we're subtracting. So you can hear, you can still hear the sound in there, but it's doing something to it. And we can add this much of it, or we can take it out. And the pre-gain has to be really tiny to make that work. But what if that pre-gain was part of the depth control? Let's apply it here. Let's see what kind of numbers we start to get a reasonable behavior if we're applying it at every stage. And the next thing I'm going to do is remove these ifs, remove this check, and see what that does. Because that would make it all the simpler. In fact, I could Yep. I don't have to have this D variable in there at all if that works. Let's find out what we're doing. This is going to some interesting places. I don't even know what this is going to make, but it's going to make something. We are making something out of this crazy pile of nonsense. Back to Alien Kittens. Not the boosted version this time. This starts out at full crank. And quickly goes to no effect. We've got that, it alternately adds and subtracts. That's interesting. So there's the subtract. There's the subtract. What if it was the golden ratio? Let's find out. No, doesn't do nothing. So, what if we're on all wet? Does it still alternate? Yeah, it's just changing phase each time. I'm not sure how well that works. I'm not. Let's give it more stages. I bet it'll stand up to more stages. "40 stages. Because why not? Let's see what this crazy monstrosity does. And we're going to have an input. Before we even do this, we're going to have some effect on it. And then when we try that, we're going to comment this out and see what happens. Here's our distorting version. not getting that much of a cancel out, are we? Yeah, when we do this with this many stages, it becomes nothing but a giant distort. It's not going to be a matter of success through multiple stages. On the other hand, this is a crazy distortion. Yep, not getting that much out of lots of stages. As fun as it is. That's a heavy distortion though. People are going to want this on their guitar. In fact, do I have a guitar sound handy for this? Let's see what it does on a literal guitar. Here's some guitars. There's something, I don't know what it is yet. Pretty screwy. What's this? Oh, this was from the old Macadie. Okay, so running a set. This may actually be a recording of the old sampler. Let's see. So if we were to run this horrible thing into this horrible thing. And the source is this. There's something here to find. It definitely wants to run through the stages in pairs. Pretty wild. So we were going to see what happens if we do that. That is the only restriction on this craziness, is the clipping it to pi or negative pi, or clipping it to 1 or negative 1. But doing this, if we don't clip it in that way, it will wavefold. Let's see what we got. So this is maximum depth, maximum cancellation. Here's our raw signal. It's very nice about not actually clipping. Gonna have to fix that gain staging. Oh, now we're clipping. But not in full width. Well, okay. Couple of ideas to fiddle with. We are apparently not doing this. Can you select, for heaven's sake? What is your little problem? There you go. We probably don't need 40 stages. Let's do 20 stages. Times 2. More parentheses. Plus 1, meaning that it will always be engaged. And select, please. Thank you. There we go. And source is awkward for me, so we're going to double flip it. And that ought to get the range of control into a convenient place. Hopefully. And I don't think we need Halo for anything anymore. I think Halo is going to be defaulting to 0.5. Can you please select for me? Thank you. And lastly, we don't need to define this variable if we're only using it in that one place. Oh, settle down. This thing is fighting me every step of the way, but not for any longer. I gotcha. It doesn't want to select for anything. There you go. That was the only place to use that. There. Now, isn't that cute? Isn't it cute? Doesn't it do a lot of damage? Damn. Let's play with the amount of damage that can do a little bit more and then explore some of the other things. Again. It's not going to be called node slew. I'm not sure what it's going to be called. Monstrosity. I dare say, seems like a fun toy. So we got our little invers to isolate things. We've got many levels of gain. And we got full wet. Weirdly, after this point, it purely cancels itself out. What happens if we drop depth? Okay. So we get real sensitive when we do that. We got our crazy overload. Here's our ability to isolate the low frequencies like as before. You turn it right down. So inv is a way of getting the horribleness and the highs all at the same time. That's the cancellation effect. Except we're not really hearing it until slew comes up a little bit. It's not going to be called slew. And as we do high levels of depth, it goes completely berserk, as always. In fact, we could scale that somewhat. Or a lot. And let's see, 50A, so let's go to 25 and see. And that automatically gives me the maximum effect of it. And we can name those whatever we want. Some of this stuff doesn't need to be in here at all. Oh, stop that breakpoint. And we probably don't need this. But to do this properly, we need to space it out a little bit more, so let's adjust that. We'll step by 2 instead of 1. It'd be pretty funny if I wrote it like x plus 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 plus, but I'm not going to do that. That would be crazy. Not as crazy as this plugin, mind you, but still crazy. Now let's see whether it dies if I crank that out. I'm going to go back to the guitars. That's not terrible as a sort of forceful, cheap guitar ampy kind of thing. When we compare it with dry, and then wet. It's not a million miles off. That's weird. Didn't expect that. These are boring. Let's go back to where we started. But without this much gain. So using this to cut the bass off of Alien Kittens, you use less depth. More than this, mind you, but... And that cuts the depths like 6 dB off of the bass, which started out as this. use inv wet to sort of punch it up. We still have swapping bassy and light. That's not supposed to happen. Or overdrive it a little bit and then pull it back, maybe? Slew clippers? One thing about this is it's giving you textures and behaviors that are not like anything else. So you start out at something nice and clean like this. Add some of this but in inverse. Got the break. And we're reshaping the lows on it. That makes it more aggressive. Pull back this boost. We've made this sort of soft lows into a drier, punchier low by adding some of this in inverse. Or you can just go this. Sort of crazy, distorted, rumbly nonsense. Since we're not making it swap phases anyway, let's not skip these. We'll go with this and see if that +1 still works. And increase the angle a little bit. Not by that much. Let's see now. So that should cover this. Oh, let's see. Let's see what we got. My key factor here is whether I can get a useful and recognizable behavior in an easy to hit space from the invert, because the invert is the weird high pass, the crazy high pass. And if that's controllable, that's a big win. We don't need nearly as much of that. This is the one. Yeah. Althera, most of my recent plugins have been about soothing the digital high sonics. Look into like what I've done over the last month. All the stuff that has slew in the name up to this are more about soothing the digital high sonics and less about craziness. This is strictly about craziness. Like this. So what's my bright and dark? That's a bright. That's easily accessible. And it works very nicely as a trim for pulling back the super lows this way. Start with nothing. As you go through, you start getting a mid-range hole because it's starting to let the super lows back in, but inverted. We got the flipping phases again. So it just so happens that exactly 0.5 is another cancel. Sounds like this. Distorts like this. Can definitely take some of the energy out. farther you go, the more it starts getting weird. I'm gonna go to another boost zone. That. And another cancel zone. You can hear it being a little dry. Full wet sounds like this. It's really quite something. Like, at no point is it particularly well behaved, but it sure is weird and interesting. We can have this really grimy hockey kind of thing going on. Can't hear any of those hats anymore, they're gone. Strictly low mids. This many stages of it, and it's just all she wrote. You still get some of that super low shaking in there. But it's really emphasizing the mids much more than I would have expected. Yeah, I think the ballistics of these, the balances, the tones available. That's aggressive. Some of these kinds of sounds are the sounds I was using to get that Zoxbox thing, because I ran that in my guitar amp. Kinda, Jess, kinda. This was an experiment in, can you do soft slew clipping and make it work? And the answer is kinda, but it doesn't sound like what you'd think it would. Instead, it sounds like a monster. Or maybe a guitar amp. And the inverse wet works well with it. There's a setting around about 1/3, exactly 1/3, where you can use it as a high pass. But it's not like any high pass in the world, because what's being subtracted is this. And there's a lot else in there, but it's weird. It's being made very different. So you get this wild sort of spice adding nonsense. And because it's such an incredibly nonlinear thing, if you pull it back a little bit, lows come through. If you push it a little bit more, then it does even stranger things, like this. That's lows coming through. But this is a notch in the middle of the frequency and amplitude response. And it's changing the drums into something entirely else. the dry. So it's a real interesting thing. And also, if you do this with it, you've just cut the amplitude of everything by like 6 dB. So if you then normalize it to exactly 0, or no, hey, no, you can do more than that, because, well, no, there is also fallback distortion in there too. Let's not do that normalize. Let's do something else. Let's do an effect stack of let's call it purest gain. We don't really have, well, want to just go full tilt bonkers? Let's just go full tilt bonkers. One bit, and then hard clip. Clip only 2. So you can do this. So we started with this. And then we can have this. See, this is the source, and this is the modified. And well, there you have it, I guess. This ran like an extra hour. When will I do the chamber? Remember how I did the chamber plugin? It's just that it wasn't exactly what you would think because I was struggling with chamberness. There's going to be more work in there, but there is one. It just acts more like a slapback echo. Let's see. This guy. That's the one. Yep, I haven't got the actual chamber-like chambers really up and running at this time. Probably we'll have something like that working before winter. Today was more this new thing, whatever it is, which is a good question. I'm not sure what it is, but it's coming out. And with a bit of luck, people will enjoy it. I'm not even sure what to call it. It's going to be something crazy. And on that note, It is 1:41. I think I need to tidy up the work that I've been doing here, and hopefully the new video quality stuff is coming in handy, because I think that is a upgrade, but I will know for sure when I go and investigate what the playback looks like, because I've changed a bunch of things. Oh, I didn't even remember to turn on the blinking lights. Let me turn on the blinking lights just a little bit for the end. Yeah, I should be able to live stream and have my blinking lights and things working properly and looking more like they do on the Sunday videos, which may end up being Saturday videos now. And yeah, we shall see. There is a lot of work to do. But as things start settling more into more of a normal routine, I'll perk up. And as you can see, even when I'm not feeling very perky and there's been way too much going on, I'm still able to put out the occasional good plugin. So we shall see. And I'll talk to you folks later. Bye-bye.